Devil fruit tier list. Alright, first we're gonna start with Tsuge. I'm gonna put a D tier. You know, I know a lot of people agree that this is D tier, but I feel like I wish I could put it in the middle. Because the enemies can't see you, and say you're like a black leg user, that is probably very useful, but it's still gonna have to be D tier, mainly because of how good every other fruit is. Time for Bari. So this is a difficult one. I don't know if it's C tier or D tier, but I'm also gonna have to put that D tier. It's just very, very difficult to use. You know, the only actual good moves for grinding are when you capture them in that capsule, is what to call it, basically. I don't know. And the damage just isn't really high enough. You basically need a spec, and for PvP it's okay, but in general it's kind of meh. Okay, so for our first B tier, so I'm probably gonna get some comments that they don't agree with this, but it the moves are okay in general on the mines and everything, but the main thing that's good about it is Bomu is just, it has such a good self-destruction. So if you line up a bunch of enemies, they're done, dead, all of them. So it's just, it really depends on your stat points, but in general, it's a good fruit for dungeons too, because it just one-shots the bosses. So it's pretty decent. Now for Goro. This is a very hard one. It's B or A tier, because Goro has some good moves, but they're not kind of big grinding moves. Or they have very high AoE and everything. To be honest, I'm probably going to have to put it S tier, because all the moves do a ton of damage. They stack. It's good for bosses, dungeons. The damage is insane. It's just an all-around very, very strong fruit. Hiei. So, a lot of you are going to be surprised by this. I'm going to put this A tier. Because if you have a lot of stat points in this fruit, you do so much damage. The ice spikes and everything, the damage is insane. Especially if you have pull. The damage is just, oh my god. Like, dungeons can be so easy with Hiei too, because of the stuns and everything. Hiei is slept on. It is such a good fruit. Like, I would reset Mara right now and eat a Hiei, and I'd be fine with that. Alright, time for Magma. So, I'm gonna put this in A tier, because the only downfall it really has is the knockback is very high. So that can make things very, very difficult. And Magma Rain and everything, you're not going to hit every move when you use Magma Rain. And the Magma moves, they don't do, they're going to one-shot, but you're not going to hit as many opponents as you want. Now we have Mara. This is probably an S tier in my opinion, mainly because of the buff. You can fly in the air and just use moves. The enemies can't hit you and the damage is just mwah. So good. There's not much to say about this fruit. Flame Pillar Spam. It's just very, very, very good. Now for Marrow. You know, this is probably going to be our first C tier, because in general it's pretty meh. It's just super duper. It's kind of all about the stuns. The moves aren't too reliable, and it's a hard fruit to use. I know some Marrow fans out there are going to get mad at me, but that is really what I think of the fruit. Now for Pika. We already know this is S tier. The light right, it can partially stun. The damage is insane. Pika kick, insane. Jewels of Light, insane. Pika is probably the best fruit in the game right now besides Mara. It is such a solid fruit. there's so much you can do with it. Like, you can solo Neptune if you've seen how. It's just absolutely insane. It is such a good fruit. If you have the option, I would pick this up. Now for Tori. So, I once got this from a Dungeons. It's just, I got it. I ended up giving it to my friend, Birkenella. Or not Birkenella. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And it got very... I gave it away and he just gave me a fruit because we traded it for 2 Logias. This is a solid D tier or C tier. I'm going to probably put it C tier just for the mercy. It only has 2 attack moves and the damage isn't high enough. Like, the talons are meh. It's just... It's a PvP fruit, mainly. It's very, 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 very difficult to grind with. So in general, it's not too good when it comes to grinding. Like, you'd have a very tough time. Now we have a Zushi. Zushi is going to be in the B tier slot. Mainly because it focuses on one enemy at a time, and the moves you do want... You know what? No, that's going to be an A tier, because Gravity Dominance does so much damage. It's insane. Plus you have the meteors. It just has very, very high damage. It is such a good fruit for grinding. I would not put it in S tier though, mainly because not all the moves are useful. So in general, this is my opinion. I think this is my type of thing. And like and subscribe if you agree.